online haircut.
All right, guys. So, by the title and the thumbnail of the video, you can tell who I had on. Awesome people. So nice of Caio and for Sam to come on and join us for the episode. It's awesome. Just wait, watch it to the end. You'll see the content in there is so cool. I'm so happy that I got them on, and I'm really lucky that I got them on. And with all the questions I've asked and everything that went really smoothly, I'm really happy with how this episode went. So, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy. Welcome back to the Avenues podcast. We're actually joined with a very special guest all the way from Brazil, Caio. Now, give a little intro to yourself for the people that don't know.
So, hey, Colin, first of all, thanks for having me here. For the ones who doesn't know me, Toledo Machado, I'm former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight. I recently moved back from Vancouver to Brazil, where I fought at BFL, Battlefield Fight League, where I was the heavyweight champion, and got my way to the UFC. Recently back into Brazil with the family and trying to get it. And then have a fight next week, actually, here in Brazil to pave my way back to the big shows.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so when did you arrive in Brazil? Because you just came back recently, right?
Around September, October.
Oh, okay. So not okay. No, I thought it was more recent. Okay, I love Brazil, bro. I really want to go to Brazil. I got a friend from Brazil. It looks so nice. Eu amo todos vocês, você. I mean, it's just really a cool looking place. So that's awesome. And then so going into your career, right? You recently, I say recently, but it's been what, like a solid year now since you first did the Dana White contender contest, right?
It's been 2 years.
2 years now. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did the Dana White contender contest or the series work?
So it's like one night show. We usually, hey buddy, I'm busy here. Go watch your movie. Sorry, this is my son Leo. Just say hi. No, he doesn't want to. So the contender series is one night show thing where we sort of fight for the chance to get the UFC contract. So I'm going over there against another top prospect. So when that case over there against a top prospect, and we were fighting to get a chance in front of Dana and the matchmakers to show our skills and get the opportunity to get a thumbs up and a UFC contract. So even if you win and don't get the contract for sure, you need to impress and put on a show. I guess I did back then and got the contract, and that's where I got into the UFC.
Yeah, and I can imagine, like, even if you're not reaching the ultimate goal of getting into the UFC, you're still putting yourself out there, right? And you're still getting your name out to get this sort of recognition as well, right?
Oh, 100%. Like, especially if you're just getting your name out there on the smaller promotions on the regional scene and getting to the contender series, it's a next level up. It's the one step before behind the UFC. So to get there, it's already a good opportunity. So I'm glad I did, and even happier that I got the UFC contract from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was it like to work with Dana White there?
It's definitely experience. Like you can see the level of promotion, level of like production of the UFC, and then why the contender series back then. It's different. Like my relationship with Dana is very little. I saw him a couple of times at the PI that day with the contender series, but everything about the UFC, the structure, the people, how everything works there is so professional, so high level of high, especially on this kind of work that we do. That a lot of promotions do a very amateur job, very like simplified stuff. The UFC, like it's way high class.
What is the best part for you being in the UFC, and then like a low light as well being involved with it?
it's it's the ultimate goal for a fighter. Like it's what we all work to get to. It's the high show where we're gonna get, of course, paid the most, but you gotta be able to see the fans and get the warmth of the crowd. You got, as I said, the structure. The you got to be able to visit nice places and different structures, different kind of fans. Like it is the top of the sports. We say like it's the World Cup, there's the Olympics for MMA fighters. Like if you were there, you reach the top. And down part is there's not many down thing, but like it's a tough place to be in terms of like you got to show your best every day there. Like there's no easy fight, there's no easy way in or out. It's a shark. It's a battle every day you step into the cage.
Absolutely, yeah. And gaining the ultimate goal of getting that contract and then getting in, your first fight must have been very challenging in terms of the mindset going into it. I'm sure you were very nervous as anyone really would. What was your way of dealing with the stress coming in to the first fight? And then like how do you deal with it now as well, being a bit more experienced with it?
Especially that first fight after I joined the UFC, it felt like after the contender series and we get the contract and all just that dump of energy and like realization of being getting the goal we were looking for. I felt maybe it was too relaxed in a way that I felt maybe I lost a little bit of the edge. Sometimes I could push a little bit harder in the fight. I didn't. If I could go back there, I would try to have my head a little bit more up there to be 100% all the time. But it was a great experience overall. Like that first fight with the lights and the whole UFC thing and structure, it's pretty amazing. Like it's kind of hard to keep yourself focused with all that.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier how everything in the UFC is the toughest it could be. So you've obviously faced some pretty tough opponents. And what's your main takeaway from those fights and what's the best thing that you've taken away to kind of just be better?
First of all, never leave to the judges. That's number one with MMA. I had some tough losses on the judges in the last couple fights where I thought I won. And like, if you have a single ounce of energy that you can push harder, push further, go for it because you need it in the end. Like, it's a battle of every single second I'm there. I should be, I have to be battling to be my opponent to finish the fight and to get those wins.
Absolutely, yeah. And what does a typical day look like? What does a typical training day look like for a UFC fighter?
Right now, I'm in a point that pretty much put my full days fighting is training. So I wake up quite early, get my son to school, go to my first session of the day. That's lifting weights. Come back home, get some food. Going for the second session around 11 a.m. Grappling, probably most of the times grappling. Finish that lunch, a little grab my son of school in between that, get some rest, hang out with him, and go forward at like 6, 7 o'clock slot for my final session, usually Muay Thai MMA. So trying to keep myself busy, get a little bit of resting and enough food in between, but it's pretty much full day of training.
Yeah, I imagine. And what's diving in a little bit to you with your personal life, shifting away from the UFC conversation. What made you what's something that drew you to MMA? And was there a specific point in your life where you thought I want to make this a career professionally?
So the path to make this my career was very, how can I put that on? Like, wasn't something that like I was expecting to be a career at first. I started training, I was 11, 10 years old, BJJ, just because I was a little bit bigger than the other kids, and my mom wanted me to understand my body, being able to control my strength. And with time, I enjoy and develop and I love the sport, but also was playing basketball, was playing soccer. I wasn't a kid that was doing everything during high school. I even stopped for a bit to be playing handball and basketball in high school and college. But was a run when I was 17 years old. I missed it a little bit, so we decided to go back to the started training, grappling, was a little bit of watching MMA already and started Muay Thai kind of with the idea of maybe getting a fighter to get that experience, like step into the cage. And one thing I stepped in, I fell in love, like love to fight and start winning, started feeling more comfortable with it, and that path came to become a job, a career. But never, the intention was never to become a pro right away. I was just like following what I felt was a dream to be part of it, and got myself all the way to the UFC.
Yeah, for sure. And then, what's the most like challenging part of preparing for any sort of fight you do?
Preparation, the physical preparation is always a lot of hard, but like get your mindset on there and the mental set to be there on the spot on that day. Sometimes you're not feeling well. Sometimes I'm fighting with the wife, my kids say, and I was moving in some or doing some camp. So it's putting the hardest part at the end of the day is putting everything else that you're doing that's going on in our lives aside to be there for the training, be there for the preparation, be there for the fight. When a lot of things sometimes it's very important, but you got to be there. You got to show up for the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I get what you're saying there. Growing up, you said you started pretty young, 10, 11 years old. Did you have any big influences growing up? That could be with MMA, it could be outside of MMA.
Yeah, for sure. In MMA, mostly, the fight that got me to MMA, and I never really paid attention before, was Anderson Silva versus Chalsoni one when Silva got the triangle choke on the last round. That was pretty impressive to me. Then I was already training BJJ, so I got excited and started like following a little bit more. Beside that, Jose Aldo is a big inspiration. How his career went to, and now to this day, how much he put into the sport, it's impressive. And overall, I'm a big fan of Ronaldo, the Brazilian one, as a soccer player. It's a guy that also like came to ups and downs, a lot of hard injuries, and came back to become best world champion. So it, those life things and those guys that like really impact us in the sport.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. I have a buddy who actually got the R9 haircut, and it was crazy. Like no one does
Ah.
that. It's so funny. And even him, I remember him talking about it, saying like it was just a ballsy move. I just did it. Like, so that's really funny.
When I was a kid, I did
Oh, really? You did the
at the
R9 as well?
on O2 for the workout. I so I said I'm doing it. I got a buzzer, did it, and then my mom said no, you gotta shave it off. So she just like
Wow,
shaved it off the next day.
that's so funny. So it lasted less than a day.
Less than it,
Oh,
yeah,
jeez. Well, that's funny. And yeah, I mean, yeah, he must. I mean, I'm not Brazilian, but I can say confidently he's definitely a big part in the Brazilian history when it comes to sports. Um,
for sure.
you got the name Bigfoot in the fighting world, and I gotta ask, what's that about? How did you get that nickname?
It's more simple than people think. It's just I always had a big feet. So as I said, I started training. I was 10, 11 years old. So by that time, I was 6'1" and shoe size 14.
Oh, wow.
So the guys at the gym started calling him Bigfoot, Bezel in Portuguese, that translated to Bigfoot. So that just became a thing due to that.
Okay, that makes sense. And then being from Brazil, all this talk that we've had has been about being in Brazil. What made you move to Canada?
Uh, so I was actually in law school when I moved to Canada. I was on my 30 year law school, figured out that wasn't for me. And I was kind of trying to ch- in between things, and I wasn't sure what would be next. So I looked up a work and study program over there to be able to like get some different experience, trying to figure out what would be. And then I moved to Vancouver with the idea to stay for 6 months, maybe a year. And then after that, I got into into college. After college, went full into MMA and then did the UFC. So a lot of things happened. In 6 months turned it into 9 years, a wife and a son.
Awesome. Well, congrats with that. That is awesome. And
Thank you.
what was the transition like moving from Brazil to Canada? Cultural differences, everything. Just walk me through that.
Overall, mostly like first thing we notice is security. Of course, Brazil has some security issues, back, especially back in the day in Canada. 2015 was way safer than it is right now, for sure. But was being able to be on the be in the middle of the night on the bus station after going out, and you can wipe up your phone and have your headphones in and no one will bother you. And the, the cold, of course. We were in the tropical country here where it's hot most of the year, and you go to Canada where, especially Vancouver, where it rains a lot. That was really hard for me in the beginning. And timing for stuff, mostly like if you go here in a club, we used to leave around parties and stuff goes until like 7, 8 a.m. depending on what's going on in Canada, and 3, 4 a.m. You gotta be home. Those small things, but overall, like people, like Brazilians are a little bit warmer than Canadians overall, where we hug more, we usually get closer. It's easier to make friends with with your Brazilians, I would say, where like especially in the beginning, it felt like the Canadians they try to be on their own land without mixing a lot, while the Brazilians, okay, we bring it in more merrier.
You're not the first person I've heard that from. So it's funny you brought that up. So overall, it was a smooth transition, but things to get used to, right?
For sure, of course, like
Mm-hmm.
every transition, like in the same way when we moved back here, my wife that's Canadian, and first time moving to Brazil, she had a little bit of um adjusting for her, still doing it. So it's part of every big move. You gotta adjust, you gotta adapt, and after a while, things just start getting smooth.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you talked about some other interests in sports that you have. When you're not training, when you're not at training camp, what are you typically doing? Like, what are your hobbies you do, stuff on your downtime, stuff like that?
So I'm a guy that I'm all year round training. I don't really take time off, but beside a week or two after camps. I used to be a big soccer fan in terms of watching every game, being being really involved to the sport. Now I'm more casual about it. Same thing, NBA, NFL. I like to watch the playoffs whenever they're around, but don't really follow much. MMA for MMA is the sport I've been following the most. I'm a big TV show, movie guy. Recently watched the Last of Us HBO show with my wife here.
Oh, shot here in Vancouver.
I know we did some there, some in Alberta as well, and yeah, and good. I'm usually over the downtime, I'm either like playing with my son, maybe watch some TV shows, some animes. I'm really into One Piece lately, and I was
Okay.
just watching the last chapter that came out earlier today.
Okay.
So a little bit nerdy guy myself.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've heard is the I haven't watched the show. Is The Last of Us good?
Which one? The Last of Us?
Yeah, yeah,
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I played the first game and watched the first season. They pretty close together, pretty like similar. Good story. Second game I haven't played, but I've been pretty following the show. It's been interesting. Heard
okay,
some bad feedback on the internet online, but it's most people that watch the show don't have too much expectations.
yeah.
It's everyone enjoying
Okay,
things
cool.
different.
Yeah. What was your? I gotta ask. What was your favorite soccer club going up? Growing up?
I'm the Corinthians then.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, but if you go worldwide, Europe, I grew up with Ronaldinho in Barcelona, 05, oh 06. That was magical to me growing up. I
Yeah,
was very young.
yeah,
Was when I was watching most, so pop up to me.
yeah. I went to go see Messi play in Vancouver with his old squad, and it was so cool to see my childhood club beat essentially, one of the best teams to ever exist. So um,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Now, wrapping up, outro questions here. Where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years in MMA, and then just as your personal life?
Okay, let's go. 5 years. I want to be back to the UFC. Hopefully, tight in contention. I think I've been doing a lot of improvement in the last year or so, and I want to be more competitive. I want to be back to the big shows and put in the work. 10 years, I hope to be retired, not needing the money to fight to work anymore. It's so hard on our bodies. So I think it would a thing that would be interesting is going starting to coaching, teaching. Not sure it's gonna be working with professionals, although I do like the idea, but it's you also got to match up with a proper fighter, especially in the beginning. So let's see. I probably gonna open up my gym and see where life takes me.
That's awesome. Good aspirations there. And last little thing, I guess we'll wrap this up on this question. Anyone out there watching, I've had another guy on here that does MMA, semi pro, and we had a lot of good response from that. But what would you recommend to anybody that is doing MMA that wants to get big, that wants to put their name really out there on the map? What advice would you give?
Train, train and fight. Keep training. Keep working hard every day to the gym. Like time off, it's not a really thing. Get a couple weeks between fights and work hard. Get into get it whenever get the chance to step in the cage, step in front of the camera, step on any sort of competition, go for and do the best you can, and that's it.
Awesome. I think that's it. I think I saw you actually on the Goat Radio podcast. Were you on there?
Yeah, yeah, I've been there a
Yeah.
couple of times.
Yeah.
I'm really good friends with the guys from there.
Nice. I got to reach out to them as well, being local as well. But yeah, I think that's all from me. Again, thank you very much for coming on. You did not have to do this, so I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna, follow you obviously in the next step. Hopefully, I wish you all the best. I'll be rooting for you as well. And
Thank you.
yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. It was nice chat. I just want to thank again for having me around here. It was nice to to feel a little bit like Vancouver for a bit. Miss a little bit the city and in Canada overall. And just want to give a shout out to my family, my wife Gabby that always supports me. And next, then if may I'm not sure if it's gonna be able to be on YouTube. If I gonna be posting on my Instagram some details for my next fight, then March 25th, I'll be fighting here in Brazil. Let's go.
Now I'm joined with Sam Alvey. Now, Sam is awesome. He was able to come on the show. I'm very, very grateful. Being in the UFC for that long and now doing amazing in karate combat, it's an honor to have you on. So, can you give an intro to the viewers for those who don't know you?
Yeah, well, hello. My name is Smiling Sam Alvey. I have been fighting for real close to 20 years. Like I kind of forget the first year my first fight was, so I'm around 20 years into it. I have fought for just about everyone. I spent the decade with the UFC. I'm currently the Karate Combat both light heavyweight and heavyweight champion. I am a huge Christian. I wear it on my sleeve, and I just love everything that the good Lord has put in front of me. I'm just happy to share His gospel any chance I can, and punch people in the face when I'm not doing that.
Recently having had that fight, I guess with Tyrone, so that makes you you've defended the title in Karate Combat 3 times, then, right?
Yeah, so this last fight wasn't a defense. This last
Okay.
fight was a whole new belt. It was a new weight class. So I was the light heavyweight champion, and I've defended that belt. Then I went up to heavyweight, and I beat the guy. If you don't know Tyrone Spong, he is probably unarguably the greatest kickboxer to have ever lived. Like the dude is incredible, and I beat him. So I'm now the 2 division champion.
Awesome. Like you mentioned, you've had a huge run in MMA just in general. You've been doing it for a long time. So what's kept you going through the highs and the lows?
Yeah. I love doing it. I wasn't supposed to be a fighter. I was a band nerd. I played the trumpet really well. I was semi-professional with it, meaning I didn't make any money, but people I played with did. Uh, and I was supposed to do anything else. And then I started fighting. Some guy said, "Hey, you want to fight?" I said, "Yeah, let's give it a shot." I didn't know the rules. I didn't know what I needed. Didn't know anything. And I went out there and I almost won. Like if I had known the rules, I would have won. I didn't know the rules, so I lost. Uh, and I was just hooked. I said, "Well, I'm going to do that again." And then I won, and then I won, and then I won, and I turned pro somewhere in there. And then they started paying me. It was like $200 in gas money. So I'm in. And as soon as they started paying me, I put the trumpet down, and I pretty much haven't picked it back up. And I've just been fighting around the world now. And the highs and lows, it's all. I wasn't supposed to do this. I can't be mad at any of it. I can just understand the good Lord's got plans for me, and I'm trying to be an instrument through Him or for Him.
Awesome. With your experience with the time that you've had, what's a fight moment that really sticks with you? That could be a win, loss, anything.
Yeah. So I've got plenty of them, and it's unfortunate. It's probably the most unchristian thing I've ever done. I was in a fight against Wellington Terman, and in the fight he poked me in the eye 7 times, had 2 points taken from him, and the judges still said he won. And as soon as the fight was over, I let the judges know what I thought of them. Now, I have asked for forgiveness. It was a mistake. I should have held my tongue. But good golly, in that moment, I yelled anything and everything that came to my mind. The adrenaline was pumping, and it's just a moment that will forever. And there's only 3 or 4 other people in the world that know it happened, but or that were there for it. And I will forever be ashamed from it. But it is what it is.
Wow. I guess, yeah, when the emotions are at an all-time high, I guess that stuff happens. But how did it feel walking away from the UFC and into karate combat?
So at first, you leave the UFC, you leave your paycheck, you leave your job, you leave what you've done the last decade. And as a fighter, my skills are getting punched in the face. It doesn't transfer well into the private sector. So, like, when you leave the UFC, you are convinced you're going to be able to keep making a living, and you're going to be able to fight around the world, and you go fight Russians, and you'll be able to make a living doing it. And I couldn't find a fight. I had nobody. If you look at how I ended my career in the UFC, it wasn't great. I had a lot of losses, but a lot of those losses I felt I should have won. And I think a lot of the people who saw those fights thought they should have won. Nobody wanted to fight me because of it. And so I kind of danced around. I was begging people, and nobody would do it. I got a fight on a little local card called B2, and I won that. So okay, I'm back in the green. And then I started talking to Karate Combat. Hey, I'm on a win. Let me prove myself, and I'll do everything I can to make you guys not regret it. And that's what I've been trying to do. They gave me a shot, and it's paid off for them, and it's paying off for me.
Awesome. And yes, it definitely has. So you fought mentioned earlier, you fought across multiple weight classes, and what's been the toughest adjustment between them?
Uh, well, the bigger I get, the weight classes as they go up, the people get bigger. So when I was in the UFC, I was middleweight for most of my career. I went up to light heavyweight, but I never gained the weight like I was supposed to. I just went to light heavyweight because that's where they said they wanted me. I said, okay, I'm fine with that. So I was always small at light heavyweight. As soon as I left the UFC, I got big. I am lifting every day for an hour and a half a day. I love lifting. That is what I was going to do before I started fighting. Is I was going to be a weightlifting coach. Love it. Not in the UFC anymore. I can afford to get big, so I've gained a lot of weight, a lot of size. And now that I'm fighting guys that were bigger than me but are now smaller than me, it feels incredible. It's just a different way of training, a different way of competing. And I've been really lucky that I've been able to make the adjustment so well.
That's awesome. Yeah, 100%. And you've said that the biggest thing that needs to change in the UFC right now is the reffing, right? So can you elaborate on that and explain?
So more than the reffing, the judging.
Judging, right. My
Judging
apologies. Yeah.
The refs do what they do. They're fine. They've got a tough job. They've got a split moment job. The moments that they do wrong, everybody realizes, everybody sees, and they never let them forget. The judging, though, you never get held accountable for bad judging. And the judging is terrible. I'm pretty certain the way they pick their judges is they go down to the Home Depot before the fight starts, said, I need three. Whoever jumps in the truck comes, and they're the judges for the night. I mean, the judges have no idea what they're doing in that cage. And if it goes to decision, it is literally a coin flip as to who's going to be the winner, the rightful winner or the loser.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree, and I think you're not the only one that says that as well. So, looking back you once fought, I think, 6 times in a year. You mentioned that you were trying to get as many fights as you could. I think you fought, correct me if I'm wrong, but 6 times in a year in the UFC. And what motivated that type of grind? You said it was just because you wanted to get as many as you can because no one would really pick up that fight?
Yeah, so when I'm in the UFC, or when you're a fighter, you only get paid when you fight.
Yeah.
And we're not making NBA money. We're not making NFL money. We're making fighter money. So it's good. It's not great. And so if I want to make a lot of money, I got to fight a lot. And so I fought as often as I could, as often as my body would let me fight. I would have fought more times. I hold the record in the UFC for the most fights in a year with 6. Going into my 6th fight, I was broken down. At the beginning of camp, I tore my syndesmosis ligament in my ankle. I forgot the name of it for a second, and I could do nothing but swim for the entire camp. But I was buying a house, and I had no option. I had to fight. I couldn't take any time off. So it was one of those things. You kind of bite down on the mouth guard and say, "All right, I got to do what I got to do because I'm buying a house."
Is there a moment like in your UFC run where you thought, this is it, I've made it, or this is it, I'm done?
No, the biggest moment the biggest moment in any UFC fighter's career is that first win. That first win is where you say, all right, you go from, on the local scene, you make no money. On the local scene, you'll make like $1,000, $2,000 maybe. I had a couple medium-sized fights where I made a little bit more, but you can't support yourself on it. You get in the UFC, everybody loses their first fight. If you win your second fight, that's important. And I won my second fight. And that was the moment where I took home $20,000, 16, 18. It was less than 20. And it was like, I can afford this. I can go and eat. I can take my wife out. I have money. It was more money than I'd ever seen before. And I was just thrilled. That was kind of the moment where it's like, all right, I've made right decisions because I got this one check. I could have become an accountant, but I did this, and now this is making it all worth it.
And that's crazy to think, you're fighting at one of the best stages in the world, yet the money is an issue for a lot of people, because there's the whole controversy with Dana White paying the fighters more. That's a whole different topic, I guess, but that's just crazy for me to really think of. And kind of going off of that, in the UFC or just anywhere in general, if you could fight any fighter from any era, Who would it be and why?
I've always wanted to fight Michael Bisping. I think it would be a fun fight. He's got far higher volume. He would not get tired, and I wouldn't. I've got very good cardio, but I think it would be a fun fight. I'm more of a power puncher, and he has that punches and bunches kind of style. So I've always liked that fight. Hey, and as far as you brought up the money, I think the UFC pays really well. You get paid far more than you're worth. And when I made $20,000, that was the UFC paying me $20,000. I didn't bring one eyeball to the TV. That was them testing it. So I always like to say I am on the side of the UFC with their pay scale. I think they pay really well.
Okay, cool. Now moving on a little bit more to Karate Combat and your current chapter in your life. So what really drew you? You mentioned that you reached out to Karate Combat, or you were talking to them about trying to get involved. But what drew you to Karate Combat, and what are the biggest differences from Karate Combat and the UFC? Obviously, it's a different form of mixed martial arts, but talk about the biggest differences.
Yeah, so one of the biggest differences is you don't fight in a pit, you don't fight in a ring, you don't fight in a cage, you fight in that pit. And that pit is what catches everybody's eye at first, because you're fighting essentially you're fighting in a hole. It's really cool. I mean, it is you aren't ready for that. And so that's kind of where I first, really registered with me, saying, this is cool. The first time I saw him was a buddy of mine, Raymond Daniels, who is the greatest striker to have ever lived. He's incredible. If you guys should look at some of his highlights. He is top notch. He posted, "Hey, I'm fighting tonight in Karate Combat. You should all watch." So okay, I'll check it out. So I turned it on, and I just fell in love with it. It was so much faster than MMA. It had so many more dynamics to it. And then the pit just made it look incredible. So I was hooked the first time I saw it, and I immediately just started tagging him in every post, reaching out to him, saying, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the champ. I'm going to do it." And eventually they reached out to me. Eventually they said, "Hey, do you want to fight for us?" I said, "Yes, I do. What can I do to make that happen?" And then, the rest of the history. Then we started working together, and we started with a small 2-fight contract. I won that and won the title. And then I moved on to become the double champ.
Yeah, and what was that feeling like to win the titles that you have?
The first title was cool. The first title was all right. I've still got it in me, and I was still coming off that big losing streak in the UFC, so people were still razzing me online quite a bit. But with this last fight against Tyrone Spong, like I said, greatest kickboxer to have ever lived. And people know that. Like, people who know fighting know he is. And I think this last win was the turning point for me. I think people are going to stop bringing up how I lost in the UFC, start bringing up how I'm winning right now.
Yeah, you had that title fight most recently this month in Dubai after knocking him out. And after the win, you called out Eddie Hall. Now, what's really the status going on with that?
So Eddie Hall is scared of me. Eddie Hall. So there's a way you cannot fight. If you price yourself out of the fight, that is exactly what he is doing. With Karate Combat, before I landed back in the States from Dubai, Karate Combat had approached Eddie Hall and said, "Hey, you want this fight? We can make it happen. We're willing to pay a bunch." Eddie Hall said, "Oh, yeah? Well, I want better than $1 million. I want everything you." And Karate Combat said, "Listen, bro, we've got some money, but we can't be paying 1 point whatever million for a fight." And Eddie said, "Oh, I guess it's not going to happen then." So he doesn't want to fight me. He doesn't want to lose on the big screen in one of the biggest leagues in the world. So he's just pricing himself out of the fight.
Yeah, and I'm sure for him it's also about weight too, being massive. Like you guys would have to kind of like meet in the middle, he said, right?
Oh, I would meet him wherever he is. And
Yeah,
we told him
yes.
that. I'll go up. I think he weighs 375 right now. I'll be 240 in the pit.
Wow.
I'm willing to give up 150 pounds. It's fine for me.
Wow. That's a big difference though, and especially with fighting.
Yeah, at the end of your life, you only have your stories. Everything you've done,
Yeah.
you can pass on your knowledge. You can pass on what you've done for, to your kids, your grandkids. In my case, I hope great grandkids. That's the goal. If I could tell all of them, I beat the world's strongest man, that I beat a giant of a human being, I beat one of the unarguably most impressive people to have ever lived. That's just a story I'd like to pass on. I think he does not want to pass on how he lost to someone who's 150 pounds smaller than him.
Yeah, and who would? Hey, it's like David and Goliath, right?
And if I would say that the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's your mindset now? More fights, or are you eyeing other ventures in the league?
I want to fight anyone. Luke Rockhold, I called him out before. He's scared of me too. He has more of a possibility because I've been calling him out for a minute. But I think he knows what would happen. He's only looking to fight easy fights right now. Uh, Chris Weidman is another possibility. And I told Karate Kama, what about Weidman? He's looking for something, and he's a possibility. Uriah Hall was also mentioned. And me, I've always been a guy of I will fight anyone. You just put them in front of me. So I will fight any of those guys. Just put them in front of me.
All right. Moving on to life outside the pit. You live on a farm, right? You have like goats, chickens, and you have kids, you have a family. So how do you balance the fighting life and the farm and then the family life?
I just take them everywhere I go. When I was with the UFC, they literally traveled the world with me. We induced labor on my second oldest because we needed to get him a passport to go to Australia. And that's just been what we do. Anytime I've got to train, they're with me. Anytime they've got to train, I'm with them. We have to do stuff at the ranch, the farm. We just take care of it together as a family. We are very close knit. We really don't play any video games. We have a TV and it plays every now and then, but we're with each other doing everything. Even the food truck my wife and I run. My kids, we make them help us out with that as well. So we just keep everyone busy, and someday they'll get to relax and they'll wonder why they don't do that more often.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a really good idea. And what made you really want to live on a farm?
I had no want to do it. My wife did. No, I was completely fine just having 2 acres and just training. But she said, no, let's do this. And I said, okay. So we got ourselves 5 acres. We got ourselves a bunch of sheep, a lot of goats, some horses, pigs, chickens. Just anything we can get. We're talking about getting peacocks now. We want to get llamas. We want to get to the llama trade. So that's something we might be doing as well. And it's just something she always wanted to do, and it has turned out to be way harder than either of us thought it would. But we really like it. We love the rush of the constant work.
Right. And you're not gonna pull like a Mike Tyson, get like an exotic animal, nothing like that.
No, don't put anything past my wife. My wife will get.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Now moving on to fan favorites and personality. Where did the Smiling Sam nickname come from, and how has it stuck over all the years? You just keep doing it?
Yeah, so my name's Sam, and I smile a lot. It just kind of worked itself out. It was my dad that said it first. We were sitting around the table and said, hey, if I'm going to do this. So I wanted to get in the WWE. That was my goal. I wanted to get big enough for where the WWE would want me. So, well, you need a nickname then. So we were throwing around stuff, and Smiling Sam came up. I said, okay, but it's got to be apostrophe N, not I-N.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm an older millennial, and that was a cool thing to do back then.
Right.
And it just stuck. I mean, it kind of fits me. I really am a smiley fella. And I'm one of the guys, there's not many of us, but I smile with both rows of teeth instead of just the top row. So it just fits well.
Yeah, for sure. And what's one fight or moment that fans have always brought up to you?
So I mean, my biggest win is against Rashad Evans. He's UFC champion, Hall of Famer. He's one of the best that's ever been, and I had the opportunity to beat him. He was actually trained by Tyrone Spong, so there's that little connection there. So that I beat Rashad Evans is one of the fights that everybody knows.
And do you still use the song from Train as the walkout song?
Not so much. That lasted for close to 60 fights.
Wow.
That was it for a long time. When I left the UFC, I left a Hey Soul Sister in its wake. Now I've always loved Elvis. I'm walking out to Elvis every time. He's the king, baby.
Nice. Yeah, they had a movie about him recently, I believe.
He did, and I was completely indifferent towards it. I wanted to like it. Now, So the director of Elvis, he was the director of Moulin Rouge. Moulin Rouge is one of my favorite movies. It is a very unique style in filming. And when you watch Elvis, it was the wrong director for the choice. He made it too artsy. And it was good. I enjoyed it. It just wasn't as great as I thought Elvis should have been.
Right. And why do you use any song? You talk about you like Elvis, but like with Train, I guess, like how did you decide to use the song Hey Soul Sister?
I just like it. Yeah, I just liked it. It's a fun song.
Fair
The
enough.
audience always got into it. I tell all of my students that anything you can do to make the audience love you, make the audience love you. It's a big song. It's got a really catchy chorus, and the audience, more often than not, sings it with me.
Yeah, for sure. And looking ahead, if you could have one rematch in your career, who would it be and why?
Wellington Turman, that cheating bastard, pardon my language, poke me in the eye 7 times and steal a fight from me. Ridiculous. If we were to fight again, I would break him. That rotten guy.
All right. And what advice would you give to younger fighters trying to make a name?
Strategically learn to wrestle everywhere. You need to learn it for MMA. But if you've kind of got that, another good piece of advice is winning is the most important. You have to win. But making sure people remember you is a close second. Every time you are on camera, every time you are in front of someone, be yourself, just louder. Give people a reason to cheer you or hate you.
And wrestle. Yeah. So.
And wrestle.
Yeah.
Yes.
After fighting, do you see yourself coaching, commentate? I know you're doing coaching right now, right?
Yeah, I have an online school, SKOOL, where I train with people all around the world. I've got Australians, I've got Lithuanians, I've got people from Indiana and Oklahoma. I've got people all around the world that talk with me every day, show me the clips of how they're training, when they've got to fight, weight cut stuff, anything they want to know about fighting, I am there to help them. And it's open to anyone. If you check out my Instagram page, the link is in my bio, or you can just go to school, SKOOL.com. I'm smiling and straight.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you ever see yourself going into anything else past the Karate Combat League, past fighting? So commentating or something totally different like that?
I've commentated quite a bit, so I really do enjoy doing that. But the dream has always been the WWE. I'm getting older, so the chance of that happening are getting slimmer. That has always been my goal. It's what got me into fighting. It's what got me up at night. I love fighting, but if I had the opportunity to be WWE superstar.
Perfect. And I look at your Instagram page, and I can't help but notice you have so many clips with all these different podcasts. What really is the factor for you going on all these shows? Like, what makes you want to do all these interviews?
So there's 2 things. One, if you've seen the movie Yes Man, it's always been me. If somebody asks, I say yes. Whether it's an interview, whether it's something else, I like talking to these guys. And then really the more prevalent reason is, as a fighter, I'm an entertainer, and nobody would hire me if people didn't know me. And I do everything I can to give back to the fans. I would have no career if it were not for people watching me, cheering for me, booing me. And so every chance I can, I try and get in front of them and tell them, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I would have no career without you guys.
Awesome. Well, love to hear it. A lot of people are not like that, so that's awesome. I think that's all the questions that I have. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to make mine and coming on the show. So I really appreciate it. I will keep following you and see where it takes you, but it looks like you're going down a really good path.
Well, I really appreciate that. And if you want, check out my school. I'd love that you could meet a lot of young gonna be superstars someday.
There we are. Look at his school. Everything for you, for Sam, if you guys want, all in the description. Check that out. It's going to be all there. Now, Sam, thank you very much for coming on, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
We'll see you soon, my friend.
Peace. Again, huge shout out to Sam and Caio for coming on the episode and making it awesome. Really do appreciate you guys. If you guys liked the episode, drop a thumbs up. Subscribe if you have not already. And if you want to listen to the episode a different way, you can check out the Spotify or Apple Podcasts in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.